which is we've got Tom and Diana here, and then talk about kind of process and outreach and what we can do with the Pocket Company. So, as you know, we're talking about the Meridian PD, and that has three different planning areas in it: A, B, and C. And in planning area C, which is Meridian Village, it includes a parcel 7, which was really set up for a school site, a fire district site, and then the remainder is kind of park and drainage that is owned by the Metro District. The PD said that the school district was supposed to build an elementary school within, when the community was 50% built out. It's now 100% built out, and they haven't built a school and don't really have any plans or need to build a school. The fire district went through a process several years ago, probably back in like 2019 or so, where they looked at their needs and basically relinquished their parcel. We've been talking with the school district for 4 or 5 years now about kind of what they were going to do or wanted to do with their parcel. We would have been thrilled if they would build an elementary school, but they're not going to do that. So kind of long story short is we had narrowed in on an option that we thought would be really good for them, where we could build affordable housing on the site. And then we can give a preference for public school district employees. And then the remainder of the site would be a park that the Metro District would build and own and manage. And so we've talked with both staff level about that. And then Peter and I went and presented to the school district board a couple of weeks ago. And they were so excited that they wanted to vote on it right then and there, even though it was only an information item. So the school superintendent had to pull them back and say, whoa, wait a minute, let us bring this back to you. So what we wanted to talk to you about today is really two things. One is the land is actually owned by the county and held in trust. And we're starting to kind of understand the process of getting the land kind of repurposed to this new purpose. So we wanted to talk about the land piece. And then we also wanted to talk about, along with that, we know that we'll need to do a PD amendment because the PD specifically limits that site to only an elementary school. And so those were kind of high level, the two things that we wanted to talk about and understand kind of both the substance and the process for it. On the land and the school district side, kind of where we stand is we had a couple of conversations and put together a very brief, high-level letter as a draft that is kind of based on what the fire district gave us, and floated that to the school district, and they agreed with most of it. They had a few red lines that we were going to incorporate, and then after this, we were going to try and get kind of on an email exchange, get the key people at the school district, and then Steve, you and Brett and whoever else needs to be kind of on that same email chain, so that we can just all look at the same language that's in the letter and see if it meets the needs of both the county and the school district. Their timing and process is they're going to one of their long-range planning committee meetings. They're having a special meeting to specifically deal with this issue in March. And then they would basically, what that would do is basically say that the site isn't needed. And then they would have to take that to their full board for a final approval in April. So I think we're on pretty good track with that. Dan, did I miss anything there, or?
That's perfect. Yeah. So we're just looking for beyond April. What's the process, assuming that the school board agrees, and it goes more back into the county's control? What happens kind of beyond that process and procedure wise, and any time constraints that we should be aware of?
Yeah, so maybe we could, should we maybe take these in pieces and parts, and just stick on the land piece now? I don't know if Steve, you have any feedback on that, or if that's a good approach of getting a letter?
I think that's if let's take these in pieces as it's got to go. First thing is who's going to be the applicant, right? I mean, is it going to be the school district, or is the county going to own it, and it's just going to be Shea straight up?
Yeah, I mean,
my understanding is they prefer to not take ownership of it.
Yeah, basically, at least the path that we're on is that they would essentially deem the site surplus, and that would let the county know. And then I think what we would want to do is then have the county hold it, or turn it back over to Shea, so that because then it eventually has to make its way into the partnership for the affordable housing project, which then includes, Shea, Douglas County Housing Partnership, and then whoever ends up being our debt and equity partners. And that actual, legal transfer of ownership of the property can happen. I think we're a little bit indifferent to it. We're happy to do it kind of in conjunction with all the other approvals that are going through. That probably makes the most sense. And so I think we would be the applicant on it, essentially asking the county to release it to us for this purpose, with the school district agreeing. Unless you think there's a better approach.
No, I think that makes sense. And then is the I'm assuming the way you're trying to structure this is so that it wouldn't be like buying it back from the school district, but that they get this other benefit as part
Correct.
of this, right? So it's just a direct conveyance.
Yeah. Our discussion with them has been that, what the school district gets out of it is they get, in general, affordable housing for the area, which is a public good. And then they specifically get we'll have an arrangement with them where they'll get a preference for district employees, or it probably won't be directly with the school district. It'll be written into our documents that that for whatever period of time it is, which we still have to kind of figure out, when it's in lease up or a unit is available, it would be available only to public school district employees for a period of time. And if somebody that was income qualified and a employee took it, then they would get it. If there wasn't somebody that was qualified and an employee, after a period of time, it would then be open to anybody else who is income qualified.
Okay.
And I think that would probably be in our partnership documents for the project itself, but we would be in close communication with the school district as to kind of what that period of time is and how we would market it to their employees and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. And then with that conveyance, then that helps, having that explanation, I think, helps keep it a directed thing rather than the absent a proposal. The county's process is to, take a call for interest in the property kind of thing, and who wants to buy it. But if there's a unique thing here, then that helps couch that that finding that the board has to make about disposal of publicly owned property in a PUD.
Okay.
So that we can tie those things together. There's the public use, the public good is furthered by da 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 da.
Yeah,
and that's why this is a legitimate reason for the county to dispose of the property, and by that partnership.
Yeah.
Or support from the school district for this idea is, I think, so important.
Okay.
And Steve, we could draft up kind of a narrative on how that public good kind of is maintained through this opportunity, and we kind of craft it, bounce it back and forth. It sounds like what you're saying is that basis will go to the commissioners, and that'll have to be part of the disposal process. So is that the step beyond the school district saying that the land's surplus and voting on it at their board as it goes the county and then goes to the commissioners, or where does it step through?
Yeah, that would be, so the school district saying that the land is surplus kind of opens it up to find a different purpose for the land. The benefit that you're talking about providing really helps bolster this particular means of disposal of, not going out, not taking bids and things like that, but saying there's a specific public benefit. The board has to find that there's a reason to, they have to find that it's not reasonably expected to be necessary, which could be a difficult one, right? To just say, well, it's just not necessary for anybody. That could be a difficult one. The governmental use or purpose will be furthered by disposal of the land is the other finding. And that's the one our board usually relies on, is that idea of, yes, this land is being conveyed from public ownership to private ownership, but there's a public benefit in doing that. And this forwards that. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's good
to understand.
Yeah.
And then that's buttoned up for whatever follows on as far as amending the PD to set up the use in parcel P7.
Okay. Can we, hi, Katie.
Okay.
Thanks for jumping in. What we were hoping to do is, because there are some, which we can go into more if it's helpful, but we have some pretty tight time constraints on this. And so we were hoping that we understand that you obviously can't convey the land without the PD amendment, and you can't really amend the PD without kind of the land being released, but we were hoping we could move both of those in parallel. And that we could, start going through all the formal, both the informal and formal steps on the PD amendment while we are kind of working through the school district process and then your process on releasing the land. Is that workable?
I think it's workable. Kurt, do you see any hindrances from that? My initial take is that having them working through together lends support to either side of it, that we're not leaving some thread hanging loosely, but all of them are being tightened up.
Yeah. And I think it probably gives all of us a little bit of cover and justification as well, because if you were to put it out to, basically bid for other people could bid on it, but absent building an elementary school, they couldn't do anything else with it unless we amended the PD. And we can amend the PD all we want, but if we don't have control of the land, then nobody can build an affordable housing project. So I think moving those together probably makes sense. And, in an ideal world, they would kind of happen at, the same various meetings, so that they're doing two approvals for the same purpose at the same meeting. But I don't know, that would be something we'd have to kind of talk through or think through.
But by the way, I think there ought to be findings in any conveyance. There's a provision in the subdivision statute for counties which gives the subdivider a right of first refusal on any lands that were originally dedicated for school purposes. before they're disposed of. And this is this is one variation on a theme of how that is done. And it says, the consideration can be agreed upon, much in the way, that was just discussed. But we probably need to give lip service when we follow the statutory procedure.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, and
Yeah,
then
we really need this, on this one, we need to close the loop on the subdivision side of the law and the PUD side of the law.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. And then maybe walk us through just process-wise. I think we're pretty familiar with a PD amendment, but anything with this nuance where with this added piece that we're kind of working on the land side and working with the school district at the same time that we need to make sure to weave into our thinking or approach?
Kurt, I'm gonna look to you for.
Well, I think the big thing will be the addressing the total number of units, like we had talked, like Steve had mentioned that. And then with that, the additional units coming on board, how do you want to deal with water, demonstrating adequacy of water with that?
Yeah.
Since these
Okay.
aren't these won't be the conversion units, so it's going to be a little different animal, I think, in that regards.
Yeah, these won't be the conversion units, and the onus will be on us to work with the Metro District to make sure that we show this. But the way that we really approached the number of units that we're considering was based on the limitations from the water system. So we really worked with them on, if there was going to be a fire district in a school, and then there were going to be some additional units in Meridian Village, both in terms of water supply, but also in terms of both potable and sewer capacity. What can they serve without major upgrades, or if they were going to serve more, what upgrades would be needed? And that's really where we landed on the number of units that we're proposing. So I think what we would do there is just work hand in hand with the district to provide information and essentially a will serve letter from them that they can handle this level of capacity.
Okay, yeah, that's what we'll need.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest ones that,
Yeah, and then on the units themselves, I mean, since we're going to be going in for a PD amendment anyway, I don't know that it really matters, but when we first took a look at the PD, we had envisioned that, yes, we would have to size the development such that there was enough water and sewer supply and capacity, but we were looking at it under the framework that the attainable units don't count against the total count. So we weren't thinking that we would need to get additional dwelling units or allocations for that area. I don't know that it hurts us or changes our approach at all if we needed to get additional ones, but it might simplify the PD amendment if we could just kind of work through the way that we're reading it, maybe versus the way you guys are reading it, and see if there's any flexibility there.
First, we're certainly open to, considering other alternatives. This is the one and only place in the entire Meridian PD where there's any kind of possibility of maybe misunderstanding what something means.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
It's the
there
only
was a
place
little
where
bit.
there's any vague language.
There was a little bit of there were a few conflicts there that we tried to see if we could massage out, smooth out.
Yeah, and
So we'd
like
love
I
to
said,
hear what you're thinking.
I don't know that either from a legal or from a public or political standpoint, it's going to make much of a difference. I mean, if somebody is supportive of this concept or opposed to it, they're going to be supportive or opposed to it, whether we're adding dwelling units or we're just building it under the provision that allows for attainable units without them counting against the unit count. So I don't know that it really hurts us or benefits us one way or another if we had to work into the PD amendment of adding a specific number of units only to this parcel. But that's something we could maybe work through after, we've had this call and kind of have a time and a place to, set up and kind of go through those details and the red lines of what's needed in the PD. We took a first shot probably as a year or two or three ago at, what changes to the PD would be needed in order to do this. We were kind of under the naive impression that maybe we could do it as an administrative amendment. And I think we've convinced ourselves that that's probably a stretch, although we would love to have you guys say, yes, it's not a stretch, you can do it. But I think since we're changing use, we probably have to go through a major amendment.
Well, you got Katie on the call, so that's a director determination, and she gets to make
there
that
you
call.
go.
So
There you go.
Kurt.
Yes.
Come on, man.
So that would be our first question: is do we?
I have a feeling I'll be
major
talking to you
amendment or
after
an
this meeting,
administrative
so.
amendment? So we can go through each of those pieces, but it kind of sounds like, so I think we're relatively clear on the next steps on the land side, which is right after this call, Dan and I will do an email that kind of puts the school district folks in touch with the county folks, and we just make sure we have language in a letter that meets the needs of both organizations. And then they'll go through their process in March and April, and then we'll work with you on kind of the county process coming out of that. And then in the meantime, we'll start working in parallel on the PD amendment. And I'm guessing, is that maybe then kind of a formal pre-app meeting of where we kind of come in with with a set of documents and maybe some markups and just talk through a specific pre-app meeting of what we're seeing, what you guys are seeing, and do an official pre-app? Is that the next step, or is there something else we should be thinking of or doing?
I don't think we need an official pre-app. If we have some informal conversations, we can just turn those into a series of pre-sub notes and then get your ball running on that, or get the ball running on that. So rolling ball running, get that thing.
Yeah, if we're going to need to have that back and forth, it does end up being kind of silly to then schedule a meeting to get everybody into even a virtual room just to say the same things we all talk. So yeah, if we can work through it in exchanging emails.
Yeah. Okay.
And everybody's satisfied where we're at, then I'll just formalize what we talked about and call it good.
Okay.
If that's good, unless you really want another, a final meeting or anything. I mean,
that works for us. And so probably what we would do is work with Tom and Diana on kind of just cleaning up and verifying our proposed red lines, and then we would send that to you, and then maybe schedule a call to talk through it. And like I said, I think the only thing that's probably going to need some discussion is this interpretation of whether we need to have the PD amendment add dwelling units or whether we can rely on the attainable provision. But we can talk through that and anything else when we kind of have the full PD and the proposed changes in front of us.
Let me make a suggestion. I mean, Steve, I agree with you. It's not entirely clear how it would work. And my comment to Eric and the group before we talked with you was, if we're going to do a major PUD amendment, this is the time to correct it and make it clear. And we can't do that. I mean, we're doing a major PUD amendment. We can add what we need or subtract what we need. And so we should pick the simplest and clearest way, I think, so that nobody has going forward any question about how it was done. And Katie, I see you nodding your head. I take that as a good sign.
Yeah.
I would agree. Simple.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll take a shot at that, and you tell us whether it works or not.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Dan, what did we miss?
Quick thing while we're chatting. We alluded to some timing constraints earlier. This project has a fuse to it for underwriting purposes with the preservation of the difficult to develop designation. And so understanding that we can run things concurrently is super beneficial as we start thinking about the PD amendment and the public outreach and everything that goes into that. I just want to get a sense for the group's feeling on time frame for getting through this, and understanding that some of that's in our control related to how fast we respond. But I went ahead and put some dates to some the different steps, and included obviously the county's goals for turnaround, and it came out to be around 7 or 8 months. Does that feel unreasonable for this?
I wouldn't be surprised if we could move faster than that.
I was going
In
to
all
say,
honesty, I would say under 6. I would say
Under 6 would be a good target. Okay.
is that fair? Unless somebody wants to go lower.
yeah, no,
I'm always looking for the under, not the over.
Right. I think we can. It's a straightforward amendment, and I think if we have all these pieces going together, we can keep them tracking and get you through in an appropriate amount of time. And I could see this being, at least 6 months, especially if you're going to be handling a lot of the outreach and all of those sticky wickets ahead of time. I think that will go a long way to smoothing you through the process.
Okay, that's helpful as a target. And then just for clarity on the steps beyond the school board's action to then turn it back to the county, is it then just lining up the next county commissioner meeting beyond the school board meeting, or is there a series of steps that it takes after the school districts deem no use needed there to be able to get the commissioners to take action?
We have to go through the planning board, don't we? Planning commission?
if we do a major PD amendment, then it would be the planning commission first.
Yeah, we have to do the planning commission and the board.
So sorry, I pivoted topics without teeing it up properly. I was talking towards the land disposal process.
Oh, okay.
So sorry about that. I should have had a clear pivot there. So related to the land disposal, we have school district. They're going to take action in April. By end of April, that puts it back in the county's court. And then what series of steps does it take to then have the land transferred back to Shea?
At that point, it would be selecting a board meeting date that would accommodate your schedule, and then accommodate the need to provide the kind of notice that escapes my mind at the moment for the PUD requirement of.
And we'll also have to do we've been Sky and Jasper here. I mean, we'll have to do kind of the formal notice and public comment period, but we'll also want to do some targeted outreach. We've already gotten a few comments from some of the neighbors, so we want to make sure we have some time to really talk with the neighbors, which normally our Shea process is we do a lot of that before it even hits the papers, but being asked to go to the school board where there's always news present, we got a little bit backwards on that, but we're keenly aware that we need to make sure to work with the community, and particularly the neighbors that are right along that edge. It was funny. We got 2 comments. One was, "I'm fully supportive of this, but I'm a neighbor and I would really like for you to add some park buffer between us." And then the next one was, "I'm completely opposed to this. I'm a neighbor and I'd really like you to add some park buffer between it." So it was a fun series to get where they both asked for the same outcome, but one was I'm supportive and one was I'm opposed.
Yeah. And thanks for bringing that up, Eric. That's exactly what I was trying to target on. What does that time frame look like, so we could build in all the bits and pieces around it for public outreach.
So Steve, this would be like the wildcat disposal, right?
Yeah,
kind of similar. Yeah, so what, that 14 days written notice or something to abutting property owners?
yeah, it was a notice to abutting property owners and I believe also a published notice.
I didn't see, I was just looking. It looks like.
We can look into that, but
It
we
moves
can be,
quickly.
yeah, and we can be pretty nimble on that part because other than meeting that notice requirement, there aren't other processes around this. We need to get our staff report for the board completed, roughly 2 weeks before whatever meeting we target.
Okay.
Ideally, we have everything ready to pack it up 2 weeks prior.
Sky and Jasper, do you think we need to bake in any kind of extra time for community outreach, or does that kind of dovetail in with the other timings that we've been talking about?
I mean, it is sometimes easier if there's like a standing meeting you can join. We haven't really looked at whether there's something over there that, we need to schedule around, but I think we can thoughtfully build them into the time frame that the county has and just work within that. As long as we're all able to make the time for it, I think it works. We can make that work.
Right?
Well,
Right.
One question from a drafting perspective. I think there's definitely a lengthier cleanup that could be done, or we could do more cleanups, or kind of just deal with the amendment at hand. One of those kind of more cleanup focused sections would be the commitment section. And Dan, I know you flagged this in your notes. So I guess I'm curious what the stance would be on cleaning up other sections, like, for example, commitments that have been fulfilled to date, and whether we want to remove those from the PD, anything like that to bring it up to date, if we should be doing that as well at this time.
I don't remember which ones are resolved, so I guess it would, would it be something that would raise controversy where people would say would want to somehow object to saying that a commitment has been met?
I understand why Diane asked the question, but I think I go back to what I was saying before. I think this one's complicated enough with disposal of school lands for a specialized kind of affordable housing project. I think I would keep the changes to a minimum and make it clear it's related exactly to this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't want anyone to think that commitments are being removed because they don't understand the context, but just want to make sure from a drafting perspective, we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And Kurt and Steve, remind me, when we do the notice, if this particular PD amendment is only impacting parcel 7 in planning area C, we only notice the people that are, official notice, the people that are kind of in that surrounding area, or do we still have to notice everybody that's touched by the PD?
Well, if this is going to be planning area specific, we generally do it the abutters to the planning area. That's where it could get tricky if you were touching PD commitments and changing, cleaning those up, that affects the entire PD. So that's going to be one of those things to look at. But cleanup as it relates to PA7 and those uses, I think that we should be able to do a focused notice.
Okay. Yeah, we'll obviously talk to impacted entities that are around, but we always try and keep the formal notifications as just to those that are, relevant to the change that we're making. So I would agree that this is probably not the one to do a global cleanup. We just focus on exactly the issue we're looking at.
And I don't know if we would have to take a look at that in terms of, like, how they're broken out A, B, C. If it affects all of C, would we want to notice all of C, or could we keep it just focused to the 7?
Yeah.
So I mean, C is still a smaller chunk, but of the
Right.
overall PD, but is it big? Well, probably something to see and cogitate on, but hopefully we can keep it to 7.
Yeah.
And
Keep it.
And I think we
Just a
can
seven.
look to what we did, how we handled that for the changes that were made to P9 and 10 a while back.
Yep. Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, because we did some specific ones to those planning areas.
Right. That might be a good model.
Okay.
Would we cover everything
Cool.
we're looking to today?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, Katie or Steve or Kurt or Brett, do you guys have anything else from the county standpoint?
I don't.
No?
Okay. Sky, Jasper, anything we missed?
I missed Mark. I didn't see Marcus. I thought Marcus was supposed to be here.
I know, right?
You get the B team, Marcus. Is, he's
I
actually
think we
in
got- I
Douglas
think we got
County in
the
a
A
different
team.
meeting.
So Sky, do you work with Marcus? I don't know if I've met you.
I do. We have not. He generally takes the lead on Douglas County stuff, so you do see him a lot more. But yes,
Okay.
we work together.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
You as well. He was sad he was going to miss you all, but he is in Douglas County. He's just at a different meeting.
Just at a different meeting. Excellent. Tom, Diana, did we miss anything or you got what we need to do next?
We're going to get a draft out.
Perfect. Sounds good. Dan,
All,
we know what
all
we're
good.
doing?
Yep.
All right. Well, I really appreciate it, you guys. I'm really looking forward to this. This is a project that I've been passionate about for a number of years. I know Dan has too, that we think we can do a lot of good here. And so I think this is going to be a really fun one to work on. And I'm excited that we've got you guys as partners on it.
I'm just going to ask Tom to be nice to me now that I'm director.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
right. But only because you're director.
Exactly. It's good to see you too, Tom.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
All right. Thanks
Thanks,
everybody.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks,
it.
everybody.
Talk to you
all.
later.
Take care.